La Presse, which is a publication in Quebec. There's a journalist there named Tristan Pelequin, and he decides he's going to break multiple firearm laws, federal firearm laws, in the interest of writing a story, and the anti-gunners love it. Tell us what went on.
Yeah, this blows my mind, actually. When I first read about it, like the story is written in French in La Presse. It's a Montreal newspaper. So I was like, oh, what's everybody upset about? I'm getting tagged in all these posts and stuff. So I actually watched Ian Runkle's video to really understand what it was about. And then I had the article translated. And the article is buying an unregistered gun is child's play. And he goes on to infiltrate this Quebec Facebook group that is centered around SKSs. And as you know, Facebook does not allow the sale of firearms on their platform. So people use kind of secretive language to still do it in these groups, right? So he infiltrates the Quebec SKS group. He violates the Quebec registry, buys an unregistered SKS, illegally acquires it. He illegally alters the magazine for it just to prove that he can, and then acquires steel ammo, which is not permitted in Quebec ranges. So he just trounces on all these laws just to prove that he can in an effort to call for more. And Police se souvient and the docs are cheering it on like some, groundbreaking journalism, telling us stuff that A, we already know, and B, breaking the law for the sake of proving that you can, which therefore makes you a criminal. There is no carve-out for journalists to do this, regardless of what Mr. Pelequin says, which is that he has the blessing of Montreal police to do this. They don't have jurisdiction or authority to allow him to break laws. So, yeah, it's a developing story is all I'm going to say about that. But, yeah, it's just unbelievable.
It's pretty amazing. And Ian Runkle did a video about it, and I watched it. And he's right.
He's right.
This guy trafficked firearms. He did it for profit because he's writing articles, which they're receiving money for. He altered a magazine. Now, just the altering of the magazine itself isn't a criminal offense right now. That it will be in Bill C-21. So he would have actually got charged for two things, not just unauthorized possession of a prohibited device, but altering a magazine. But all of these charges, they're very serious criminal charges, and they could land you in jail. And this guy, like this story is wrong on so many levels. Like I'm with you. When I first kind of heard about it, I was like, oh yeah, whatever. But it's like, well, number one, Montreal police can't give someone blessing to commit multiple federal firearm offenses. That's not within their jurisdiction to do.
No.
Much less if that was really true, where he talked to them ahead of time and premeditated all this stuff, that's somehow okay. It's like that's like collusion, right? And
oh yeah.
And the fact that anti-gunners think it's okay to break the law. I mean, he could have wrote a story like, hey, I went to this Facebook group. It looks like they're doing this. And, I looked at a magazine. And it looks like I could defeat the limiting aspect, the rivet in the magazine, because some other people have done it in the past. And that would have been an equivalent story. But for some reason, they thought,
instead of actually doing it.
Yeah, I need to go do these things to prove they can be done, as if nobody, as if people don't know that you can commit criminal offenses. And then the anti-gunners think that that's completely laudable. That's admirable.
Oh yeah, well, and Paulie said, they quote tweeted me because I was like, wait a minute, what's this? Who does this guy think he even is? First of all, and they're like, accusing me of attacking the journalist. I'm like, I've never even met him. I have no idea what you're talking about. But they said he's exposing flaws in the law so that they can have more, right? And I'm like, but wait a minute. So you're telling me that a criminal breaking the law is just exposing the flaws in it? Like the mental gymnastics required to write this off as okay because their guy did it's abhorrent. Like, yeah, anyways, I'm really interested to see what comes of this because there's a lot of really upset people who have spoke about this and reported it to multiple levels of law enforcement. I sent Ian's video and interpretation of what this guy did to a friend of mine in law enforcement, and he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, Runkle is absolutely right. This guy just totally trounced on all these laws, and nobody has the jurisdiction to carve out, a carve out for a journalist. So, yeah, I think Mr. Pelequin is jeopardizing himself, his pal, and possibly his freedom. We'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the idea that he could keep his firearms license after trafficking firearms and altering a magazine is that's inconceivable.
No, it'll set an interesting precedent if he gets away with this scot-free.
Well, yeah, it could be a real problem for the legal system.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Anyway, just it's so ridiculous. And then Pauly running around waving this story, you know, as if they're waving this altered magazine. See, it can be done. It's like any idiot knows you can do that. And
we just don't do it.
Well, yeah, and then you're like, well, yeah, of course, but all of us people that abide by the law, it's because it's illegal to do that. That's why we don't do it. And they're like, well, but it can be done. This is how, you know, mass shootings happen. It's like, well, any idiot can 3D print a magazine. Any idiot can go across to the United States and buy a magazine and smuggle it home, or fly them over in drones, or manufacture them themselves. That doesn't stop mass shootings. It's, man, I don't, it's like you can hit these people over the head with a hammer and it won't knock any sense into them. It's like, you know, and let me just add this analogy or this scenario. And I used to do this in the firearm safety course. And I used to tell people, like, you know, there's magazine size restrictions do not have any demonstrable positive effect on public safety. And they have no positive effect on multiple victim public shootings either, because that's to imply that if I was intent on committing a multiple victim public shooting, I would take my gun, let's say my AR-15, I'd go to the shopping mall, I'd be sitting in the parking lot, I've got my magazines that are now illegally able to hold more than the prescribed number of rounds, and I'm sitting there, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna shoot apparently the most people in Canadian history, and I'm gonna wait a second. I have an overcapacity magazine here. I've got several of them. I could face a very serious criminal charge for these overcapacity magazines. You know what? I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, this is the level of ridiculous buffoonery that we have to face every single day with these people. It's like, if you want to stop multiple victim public shootings, either A, make sure that you harden places where people would go where they know people are defenseless, or B, find out why people are hurting each other and start dealing with those issues, the mental illness and the polarization and the division and the devaluing of human life. Like, it's like, it is to watch this kind of garbage is really frustrating as a clear thinking, rational person.
Remember, if you don't stand up for your own ability to own and use firearms, who will? Join the CCFR or donate right now at www.firearmrights.ca.